So, you've been thinking about moving to Canada through the International Experience Canada program, eh? Well, before you book your flight and pack your hiking boots, it's important to understand the associated costs. While the Canadian adventure is priceless, let's figure out just how much you need to make it happen. So in this video, we'll do just that. We'll give you a clear breakdown of the costs so that you can dive headfirst into your IEC adventure with confidence. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. First, let's break down your pre-arrival costs or expenses that you might incur before moving to Canada. First up, application fees. Creating a profile to join the IEC pool is free, but once you're selected to apply for a work permit, various fees apply depending on your IEC application type. The basic IEC fee is 172 Canadian dollars with an additional $100 for the open work permit fee, which is specific to Working Holiday program applicants. For those of you applying under the Young Professionals or International Co-op program, there's an extra 230 Canadian dollars employer's fee, and you can pay these fees with a debit or credit card, but just be mindful of currency conversion fees. And since these fees are subject to change, be sure to stay informed by signing up for Moving to Canada's newsletter. Next, biometrics. Applying for an IEC work permit requires you to submit your biometrics, which include fingerprints and photos. The cost will depend on your specific situation, which I've highlighted as seen on your screen. Also, just be aware that the biometrics fee is paid at the time you submit your application. Next, police certificate. You might be asked to provide proof of having a clean criminal record through a police certificate, also known as a good conduct certificate or judicial record. You may need to get one from any country or territory where you've lived for at least 6 months in the past 10 years or since you turned 18, whichever is shorter. Keep in mind that while some places such as France issue these certificates for free, others may charge a fee for it, so it's important to check the requirements for each country you've lived in and be prepared for any fees. Next, medical exam. You might need to get a medical exam for your IEC application. This could happen if you fall in one of these situations as shown on your screen. Usually, you'll have this exam in your home country, and the cost can vary depending on the doctor you see and the clinic you choose. But as a general idea, in Canada, a medical exam typically costs 200 Canadian dollars. Next, airfare. Flights to Canada can vary widely in cost and are often one of the most variable expenses. For example, a flight from London to Toronto could cost anywhere from 350 Canadian dollars during the low season to over 1,000 Canadian dollars during the high season. Summer and winter holidays tend to be the most expensive times to travel, while fall typically offers more affordable options. Remember, while flight prices can fluctuate, there are always ways to find deals and make your journey more affordable. It'll depend on factors like the season, your departure country, and how far in advance you book. So consider booking in advance, being flexible with your travel dates, and also exploring different airlines or routes. With a bit of planning and patience, you'll be on your way to Canada without breaking the bank. Next, travel insurance. You should budget approximately 1,000 Canadian dollars for your IEC health insurance, although the actual cost can vary depending on your specific profile. Your health insurance is really important because it not only helps you if you have a medical emergency, but it also decides how long you stay in Canada on an IEC. So long story short, you can't skip getting this insurance. The cost of your insurance will depend on which company you choose and what kind of coverage you get. However, it's really important that your insurance covers these 3 things. So it's medical treatment, hospitalization, and repatriation, or the cost of getting you back to your home country if needed. To find out exactly how much your insurance will cost, you can use this free tool from Bestcode to get a detailed estimate. Moving on, let's talk about the other costs to budget for your IEC application. Document translation. If your documents are in a language other than English or French, you'll need to get them translated, so remember to budget for this. Make sure the translations are certified and done by an official translator. Translation costs can vary a lot depending on factors like document length and complexity. Prices are usually based on the number of words or pages, with rates ranging from 4 cents to 50 cents per word or $20 to 130 Canadian dollars per page. So it's good to shop around and find the best deal for you. Next, recognize organizations. As a refresher, recognized organizations in the IEC program support international youth in obtaining IEC work permits, catering to individuals from countries without a youth mobility agreement with Canada. They also offer a pathway for those from agreement countries seeking another IEC work permit. Costs for these services vary, starting from a few $100s for basic assistance to over 4,000 Canadian dollars for more comprehensive support, depending on the organization and the services provided. Finally, we have the International Driving Permit. An IDP is something that you should plan to get before you come to Canada if you want to drive here, even though it's technically not needed for your IEC application. An international driving permit is a translation of your domestic driver's license that basically allow you to drive in Canada. In general, if you have a driver's license from your home country, you can use it to drive in Canada for a limited time after arrival, usually up to 3 months, depending on the province or territory. The cost of an IDP varies by country as well, so make sure to contact your local provider for the most up-to-date prices. Alright, now upon approval of your IEC application and arrival in Canada, it's crucial to be aware of additional costs that you may encounter upon landing. So let me name a few. First, backup funds. It's important to have backup funds readily available, not as a direct fee, but as a financial safety net. You may need to show access to at least 2,500 Canadian dollars to cover initial expenses during your stay. Additionally, it's also wise to factor in funds for a return flight, as this will help satisfy proof of sufficient funds for your time in Canada. Next, accommodation. This will be one of your top priorities that you should sort out upon arriving in Canada, and ideally, it's wise to plan this ahead of time. It's a good idea to consider staying in a hotel or hostel initially, as most cities have plenty of options available. Booking in advance is key, ideally at least 3 months before your flight, and choosing a refundable option can help you stay flexible in case plans change. When looking for accommodation, also think about what you need, like access to public transit or proximity to a grocery store, bank, or mall. Keep in mind that rent costs vary depending on the area you choose to live in, and generally living in major cities will be more expensive, so be prepared to allocate more of your budget towards rent. It's often recommended to budget around 30% of your net income for housing, but in major cities, you might need to stretch that a bit further. Next, there are also different types of accommodation to consider, such as renting a house, townhouse, apartment, or condo, each with its own pros and cons. Anyway, we won't get deep into that, but if you do want to learn more about renting in Canada, you can check out our detailed page linked in the description box below. Once you've decided where to live in Canada, you'll most likely be considering how to get around your chosen city. Most Canadian cities have public transit with rates that vary by location as seen on your screen. Now, if you live in a bike-friendly city, biking may be a cost-effective option to consider as well. Another option is car sharing, which allows you to book a car for a few hours or days and then return it to the same spot. This is another cost-effective option for those who aren't ready to commit to full car ownership. Now, don't get me wrong, owning a car provides the most convenience and independence. But before buying a car, you must look into several factors that could impact your budget. A few examples are insurance, maintenance, gas, administrative fees, parking fees, and possible interest rates. Experts recommend allocating around 15% of your take-home pay for your car expenses. Next, phone and internet plans. Phone and internet plans in Canada can vary greatly depending on the provider, the type of plan you choose, and the level of service you need. Well-known providers like Bell, TELUS, and Shaw offer a range of options. On average, monthly costs for a basic phone plan with limited data typically start around 25 to 50 Canadian dollars. However, these fees can skyrocket for plans with higher data allowances or faster speeds, as well as other features such as international calling or premium TV packages. Another helpful tip to save money is by bringing your own phone, but make sure it's unlocked so that you can use a Canadian SIM card when you get here. Some service providers also use eSIMs or electronic SIM cards that you can use to activate in Canada for essential communications. Anyway, for a detailed breakdown of costs for phone plans across major cities in Canada, kindly refer to the table displayed on your screen. Before we wrap up this video, let's quickly go over 3 important takeaways to keep in mind about how much it costs to move to Canada through the IEC. First, research your chosen location. Before moving to Canada, thoroughly research the cost of living in your chosen city. Major cities like Toronto and Vancouver are known for their high living expenses, so make sure to research on housing, food, transportation, and other related living costs. Try to look up cost of living calculators or local forums to gather current information, helping you create a realistic budget. Number 2, plan for initial expenses. Prepare for initial costs such as accommodation deposits, furniture, winter clothing, and transportation. Save enough money to cover your first few months in Canada, considering that it might take some time to find a job. Explore affordable housing options like shared accommodation, or even consider purchasing secondhand furniture for your living space. Also, don't forget to factor in unexpected costs by setting aside a buffer in your budget. Finally, number 3, seek cost-saving opportunities. Look for ways to reduce your expenses and save money. Consider living with roommates to split rent and utilities, use public transportation instead of owning a car, and even shop at budget-friendly grocery stores. Also, take advantage of free to low-cost recreational activities, explore affordable dining options, or even research government benefits and discounts available to newcomers to help you stretch your budget further. We hope you found this video helpful. Of course, don't forget to check out all the relevant links in the description box below for further information and exclusive deals tailored for our IEC community. Additionally, feel free to comment down any questions you may have about the cost of living below so that we can all support each other in the process. Once again, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.